Hello everyone, I am Douglas E. Welch and welcome back to another episode of In the Garden for a Gardener's Notebook. We're going to do kind of a short episode today because frankly it's too darn hot to be out here in the garden today. It's about 95, 96 degrees. We're sitting in the lovely shade here though, so that makes it a little bit nicer and a little easier to adapt to. But it's important that the temperature is high right now because what we're going to do is we're going to install a new electronic soaker hose timer to water the garden a little bit better, and also we're going on vacation and it simply means there'll be less work for the house sitter or the garden sitter to take care of when she's here. So on the right here you see the new garden timer which I'm installing. On the left you may have seen these, me talk about these before. This is the old mechanical timer I've been using in the past. I still have a few of these in the garden. These have been really reliable, but the fact is I still have to remember to go out and turn them on, and they run for about 2 hours at a clip. You can set them for less than that, but you have to remember to go out and turn them on. With these timers, they are electronic. You basically set how often you want them to run with this dial and how long it runs during each time that it turns on this dial, and set it and forget it. These were on sale at a local home store recently and I figured I'd try them out. Frankly, combining technology with water has always been a bit of a worry for me. I was never sure how reliable these would be or how long they would last. This one does come with a pretty robust water cap that screws on, probably looks like 10 threads deep, and there's an O-ring around the face of the dial right here to keep the water out. Only time will tell how reliable they maintain, but I haven't had one installed for about a week now. It's been working great. It runs on AAA batteries. You just pop this out, throw some AAA batteries in here, and I'll be interesting to see how long those batteries last, because as far as I can tell, not only do they run the electronics of the timer, they also do run the relay that opens the valve to let the watering happen each time and closes it at the end. Now, one of the main reasons I'm switching over to this timer is I am probably one of the few people in California who actually underwater their garden. Our water for the garden is never a large part of our utility bill, and the garden suffers for it. I'm hoping with these automatic settings, I'm going to have it water more frequently, still less frequently than you might with a hose, but water more frequently, but for longer periods of time, so you get a nice deep watering each time it runs. And I'm hoping it helps to perk up some of the more lackadaisical beds along the fringes of the garden that aren't just getting the attention perhaps that they deserve. So here you can see where we're going to install this new timer. As you can see, there's an existing mechanical timer on here, as well as a 4-port manifold. It goes off you can see the one soaker hose here, but these two other hoses actually go to 2 different rose beds in the garden nearby, and then they connect to a soaker hose over there. So first thing I'm going to do is turn off the water on this, release the pressure here, and then we'll take this unit out and put the new electronic unit in. So here you can see I've taken the mechanical timer off and the manifold here. Now sometimes you have to be a little creative in how you put these timers on to the next piece of the hose. Sometimes there's a nice fitting like this one which you can tighten with your hand and keep the timer aligned. Other times you got to kind of spin the timer on and get it positioned correctly first. But with this one I think we can basically use that coupling there to get it nice and straight the way we want it. Although on this one I realized I do have to keep this I have to keep the manifold vertical to avoid this stand of the pipe here. So we want it to actually be vertical in regards to the timer. And then you can see I've put the initial connector here. This is a little compression fitting. So first of all it screws on, this part screws on to the hose tap here, and then this ring will be used to tighten the timer up against that compression fitting for a watertight fit. One of the biggest situations here, and things that may take a little fiddling around, is you want to make sure that you have no drips. Otherwise that's just wasteful if it's dripping away when it's not actually running the hose. So you want to make sure that you've got everything nicely tightened. You do have to be careful with plastic parts. You can over tighten them and that can actually cause them to fail, and then you have to go buy a new one, or at least a replacement part to make it work. So here we go, we've got it hooked up. We're going to turn the water back on a little bit here. With soaker hoses you use very low water pressure, and so you don't turn the faucet on very much at all. Now what I'm really liking here is we can see that there's no leaks here at the compression filter fitting, and there's no leaks down here at the hose coupling. So that looks like we actually did pretty well. What we're going to do is we're going to turn this to on, and we should hear Let's see if we hear it here. And so you could hear the ball valve, the automatic ball valve inside open up, and now it's actually beginning to run the soaker hoses. So that's the way you can test it. They'll all have a test feature that you can do to make sure that they're working properly when you're sitting by them. For the first couple days, I do come out and check to make sure that they're running on the cycle that I wish they would run on. I showed you earlier with these timers, you set basically a frequency of running and then a duration of running. So if I were to set this for every 12 hours and then run 1 hour each 12 hours, right now it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so it would run at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and 4 o'clock in the morning. You can set it for almost a infinite number of divisions, all the way up to looks like 72 hours between runs. So it should be fairly flexible for any needs that you might have with your automatic watering. Now for my needs, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it off, and let's see if we can hear the valve shut again automatically. Okay, and then the water is off. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to set this to run every 12 hours and run for 60 minutes every 12 hours. I don't want to water frequently, I want to water deeply. And what I found in the other bed with my particular soil in the beds, that running 1 hour every 12 hours gives the water a good chance to settle into the soil. We don't get any runoff or anything like that. I may actually increase the frequency. We are moving into the hot part of the year here, so I'll probably increase the frequency just to give the plants more water. Again, I tend to underwater everything. Now the final step, of course, is to protect the electronics on top. That's what this little plastic cover is for. As I said, it's got about 10 different threads on there, and you just want to tighten it, hand tighten it down. You don't want to over tighten it because you can break it. But this should keep any water and any rain out of the electronics. There's actually, again, an O-ring running right here that actually seals against the bottom of this case. And in the case of the other timer, seems to do pretty well. So that's it for this episode of In the Garden. I hope you find a use for either mechanical or electronic timers in your garden. I personally prefer soaker hoses and drip systems. They keep the water where it needs to be, which is on the plants and not spraying all around your yard. So unless you have a lawn, which you have to spray, think about soaker hoses, drip systems, and then use timers to make your watering a little bit easier. Now for more information on a gardener's notebook, you can always visit the website douglasewelch.com. There you'll find a link to a gardener's notebook as well as everything else that I do. If you're watching on YouTube, please click that like button. It really helps people discover my videos and spread the word about a gardener's notebook. Until next time, keep cool and keep digging.